Hi there, my name's Olivia and welcome to my garden. I don't know about you, but I've been enjoying spending lots of time outside recently. Maybe you, like me, have been out in your garden or going on walks around where you live. I know Seth has been, haven't you, Seth?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying the weather down here.
Now, I really enjoy going on walks, and sometimes I'll go on an especially long one. It doesn't just last a couple of hours, sometimes it'll last a couple of days. Now, I'm not going on walks that long at the minute, but it got me thinking about a story from the Bible in a book in the Bible called Exodus. And in this story, God's people go on a really long walk. It doesn't just last a couple of hours or even a couple of days. This walk lasted 40 whole years. Can you imagine going on a walk for that long? Now, if any of you have ever been on a really long walk, you'll know that there are lots of things you need to pack with you so that you're prepared for the journey. Now, I've packed some of the things I take with me here in my backpack, and I'm going to share a few of them with you. Now, in here, I have my my sleeping bag. Now, I think this is pretty essential so that I get lots of good and restful sleep and have plenty of energy for walking the next day. Now, when God's people went on their journey, they didn't have really comfy and fancy sleeping bags like we do today. And I don't know what that would have been like for them, but I know if I went on a walk that long and didn't have my sleeping bag, I would be pretty tired. Now, another thing I've packed in here is my raincoat. Even if it was a really sunny day, I would probably take my raincoat just in case. Now, where God's people were walking, it wasn't going to be wet and it wasn't going to be windy because they were walking through the desert where it would have been hot and dry with the sun beating down on them. And that would have been really tiring. Can you imagine walking for 40 years through a desert that was hot and sticky with the sun beating down on you every day? Now, I probably wouldn't pack the next thing with me if I was going on a walk, but I would definitely wear them because these are my walking boots and they're perfect for walking on any muddy or rocky paths I might come across. Now, God's people didn't have walking boots like this on their journey. Instead, they had sandals, and these wouldn't have been brilliant for walking in. And to make things worse, the paths wouldn't have been really good and the ground would have been very sandy. I'm sure they would have loved to have some walking boots a bit like mine, but they didn't have them at the time.
When we hear this story, we think of how difficult this journey might have been. We're surprised to see that they kept going. The Bible actually gives us some answers in Deuteronomy 8, verse 4, where it tells us that the clothes they were wearing and the sandals they were wearing for the full 40 years never wore out.
How amazing is that? Now, I really love my walking boots and love my coat, but they're not going to last me for 40 years, and I don't even wear them every day. But the Bible tells us God made the impossible possible to look after his people. Now, I have a few more things packed in my backpack, so let's see what there is left. Ah, now this is really important. This is my map and it helps me and stops me from getting lost. And if I do get lost, it helps me find my way back to where I need to be. I also have in here my torch. Now, this is really helpful because it helps me to find my way in the dark.
Now, God's people didn't have the useful things that we would have today in order for them to find their way. Which makes me wonder, how on earth did they not get lost? Well, the Bible actually tells us in Exodus chapter 13, verses 21 and 22, that by day God guided his people with a pillar of cloud, and by night he guided them with a pillar of fire. Now, being guided by a pillar of cloud and being guided by a pillar of fire is pretty hard to imagine, but it was God's way of showing his people that he was with them, and I made sure that they knew that too.
Now, the last things I've packed in here are some food and some water. Now, these are pretty essential, otherwise, I would have no energy and would get absolutely nowhere on my walk. Now, if I was going on a walk for a few days, I could plan and prepare and pack food for those few days, but I couldn't plan, prepare, and pack food for 40 years. I mean, I wouldn't have enough room in my backpack, and even if I did, the food wouldn't last that long and it would go off.
So you now may be wondering, how did God's people have enough food for their journey? Well, the Bible again has our answer. In Exodus chapter 16, verse 12, the Bible tells us that God made bread rain from the sky for his people. And then, whenever his people were thirsty, he split a rock and made it pour out fresh water for them to drink. These were impossible tasks for us, but God made it possible because he was looking after his people.
This story teaches us lots about God. It teaches us how much he cares for his people because he didn't just tell them where to go, but he went with them on their journey. He made impossible things possible through making sure their clothes didn't wear out and sending them food from heaven and splitting open a rock to give them water. He showed all these things to show his people how much he cares. Christians believe that although we don't follow massive pillars of cloud and fire, that God still leads his people through difficult challenges and that he is always with us and never leaves us. And even though we don't get food by bread raining from the sky or water from rocks being split open, that God still cares for us and looks after us just like he did for his people in the desert. So Christians believe no matter what's happening in the world right now, we can trust God with our future because he promises to always be with us and never to leave us.
Just as we finish off, I'm going to pray. I'm going to pray that we know how much God cares for us. Let us pray. And if you want to join in, you can do so by saying Amen at the end. God, thank you for the amazing story in the Bible. It shows us how much you love and care for your people and that you were with them and provided for them. I pray that each and every one of us would know that you love us in the same way and that you will be close to us, care for us, and provide for us. Amen. It's been so good to be with you guys today. Hopefully next time, whenever you're out on a walk or doing some exercise, you'll remember the long journey that God's people went on for 40 years in the desert, and how for all of those years God looked after and cared for his people, and how he cares for you.
Bye!
Bye.